All right, so today we are diving deep into Kenyan politics and specifically the whirlwind right now surrounding the now former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. Listeners have asked for a deep dive into his impeachment and honestly the immediate appointment of his replacement. And the speed of all of this is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, it's definitely not usual to see such swiftness from any government, especially when it has to do with a position as high-ranking as deputy president.
Right. And to put it all into perspective, in a matter of days, Gachagua went from being President Ruto's right-hand man to being ousted by the Senate. And then on top of that, Gachagua was so key in Ruto's election win last year.
Yeah, that's important to remember, and it really makes you think about what happened behind the scenes to cause such a change in, power dynamics.
And we have to talk about the allegations against Gachagua. These are serious accusations, including inciting ethnic hatred and violating the Constitution.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Those are not small things to be accused of. Those types of allegations, well, they strike at the core of a democracy, you know. Inciting ethnic hatred, if that's proven, that would show a disregard for the unity and stability that a country like Kenya, which is very diverse, needs, and then violating the Constitution that undermines their entire legal system.
So was this really just about holding Gachagua accountable, or is there more to this story? I mean, some sources are suggesting there's been a growing rift between Gachagua and President Ruto, even after we saw how close they were during the election.
Yeah, politics can be like a performance sometimes. So while they might have seemed united during the campaign, it's totally possible that there were tensions building under the surface. Gachagua may have felt like he wasn't as important anymore, like his influence was fading. That can lead to a lot of dissatisfaction with your job.
So it's like a political drama then. We get the polished version, but then behind the curtain, it's a totally different story.
Exactly. And when you think about the timing of it all with Gachagua's impeachment, you have to wonder if this was a strategic move by Ruto to make his own power stronger, especially with the issues and public dissent that he's facing now over things like the cost of living and taxes.
Wow, okay, so we've got a dramatic impeachment, possible power struggle, serious allegations with huge consequences. This is already so interesting. Maybe we should switch gears a bit and take a closer look at Gachagua's replacement, Kithure Kindiki.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's learn more about Kindiki. This isn't Kindiki's first time in a high position in Kenyan politics either.
Right. He was already a big deal before becoming deputy president. It's really interesting to me that he was the interior minister before this, in charge of the police force. That's a pretty important job.
Oh, for sure. It shows that Ruto already trusted him before this appointment even happened. Kindiki was already dealing with national security, which shows how much experience he has.
Didn't Kindiki almost get the deputy president position in the last election, too? I feel like I remember that.
Yeah, you're right. He's been around for a while now and has become more and more influential. And how he got appointed this time says a lot, too. Parliament voted 236-0 for Kindiki. That doesn't happen on politics, to have everyone agree.
That's a huge sign of confidence in him. It makes you think about what kind of message Ruto's trying to send with such a strong appointment, especially with what happened with Gachagua.
One way to look at it is that Ruto is really making sure he's in control. By choosing someone that's been loyal and competent, he's making a united front within the government. And that's probably even more important now with all the public disagreeing with him on things.
So it's like he's protecting himself in case things get shaky. But it's not just about Kindiki being loyal, right? He's got a lot of experience and people who support him. He wasn't just the second choice.
Exactly. Kindiki was a top contender in the last election, remember? He has his own people and influence that he brings to this partnership with Ruto. And that gives Ruto more power and support as he deals with Kenyan politics.
And this is where things get really interesting when we talk about different regions. Gachagua, the old deputy president, and Kindiki, the new one, are both from Mount Kenya. Anyone who knows anything about Kenyan politics knows how important that region is.
Oh, the Mount Kenya factor is so important for understanding this whole thing. It's one of the areas with the most people, and it's always had a lot of political power.
It's almost like if you have the support of Mount Kenya, you can control everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Politicians know that making Mount Kenya mad can be really bad for them. So do you think by picking Kindiki, who's from there, that Ruto is trying to make those voters happy again after what happened with Gachagua? Is this how he's going to keep their support and make sure someone is looking out for them?
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in. Ruto needs to keep those voters happy, but he also needs to address whatever issues led to Gachagua being removed in the first place.
That's a really good point. This appointment could be seen as like a quick fix. Some people in Mount Kenya might think that Ruto's just trying to make things look good instead of actually holding someone accountable.
Right? It's like putting a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches. It seems fine, but it doesn't actually fix the problem. And if Ruto's not careful, Mount Kenya voters are going to feel like he's ignoring them, which could make things worse.
Exactly. And there's another thing that's interesting about this whole situation. The speed of it all. I mean, from Gachagua being removed to Kindiki being sworn in, took only a few days.
It was so fast, I could barely keep up. It does make you think, though, was it really that important to get it done so quickly, or were they trying to make sure no one could stop them?
It's definitely something to think about. Some members of parliament even said that there wasn't enough time for everyone to discuss it and for the public to know what was happening. So it brings up the issue of transparency, even if having Kindiki as deputy president is a good thing in the end.
So where does this leave Ruto and his plans for Kenya? Does having Kindiki on his side help him get things done, or does it just cause more problems?
It's kind of both, really. On one hand, parliament all agreed on Kindiki, so that shows he has support and things might be easier for Ruto now. Plus, Kindiki has experience and knows people in the government, which is helpful.
Like having a really good teammate who helps everyone stay focused.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But then on the other hand, Gachagua being removed like that could cause problems within the ruling party, even if we don't know why it really happened. It's always risky when there's a sudden change in power. Kindiki might have to be very careful to keep everyone together, despite his good qualities.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Kenyan politics, what are your final thoughts? What does this all mean for the country?
Well, this whole thing shows that Kenyan politics change very quickly. You never know who's going to be in charge or what's going to happen. It takes strong leadership and being smart about who you trust and knowing what everyone wants.
Wow, it really is like a game of chess with high stakes. Everyone will be watching Ruto and Kinikiki now to see what they do next. One thing's for sure, Kenyan politics are never boring. That's it for our deep dive today, listeners. We'll be back soon to break down more news with you.